Hello and welcome to Court Procedures in a Criminal Case. This video is about how a court determines whether a person accused of breaking the law is guilty or not guilty of a misdemeanor or a felony. This is different from a civil case. A civil case's job is to settle a disagreement. In this case, a criminal case, we're looking at whether or not someone is actually guilty of breaking the law. What we're going to go over are the 5 steps that should occur to help ensure that an accused person is treated fairly. Let's take a look at the first step. First step is that a person who is accused of a crime may be arrested if the police have probable cause that he or she did the crime. Please fill in, the first blank you want to fill in is arrested, and the second blank is probable cause. Now remember, probable cause is a reasonable suspicion that someone has committed a crime. Even if you have this reasonable suspicion, this probable cause, you still have to go through all the steps of the criminal case. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the second step. The second step is that the accused individual may be sent to jail or released on bail. Please fill in the blank of jail and bail. Now, what we're looking for here is the idea that you've got to make sure that the person who's accused is going to come to court. So the jail definitely keeps them in one place and makes sure that they show up at court. And then bail is money that you can pay to get out of jail. And depending on the circumstances, you should get the bail back if you show up at the court. After jail or bail, we move on to our third step, and this is the one that is going to take the longest to explain and also differs between a misdemeanor and a felony. So as we're looking at this, our third step is that the case proceeds to an arraignment where probable cause is reviewed, and a lawyer may be appointed for the defendant and a plea is entered. In this case, you want to underline or fill in the blank of arraignment, lawyer, and plea. So the arraignment is a hearing. It is between you, your lawyer, and the judge and the prosecution, and you talk about whether or not you want to proceed with the trial. If you want to continue, in most cases you make a plea of not guilty, and then you keep going with the other steps. If you plead guilty, the case stops here, and you don't go on to the trial, but the judge assigns the sentence. You might want to do this if you know you're guilty and you want to save the court money, and this could show the judge that you admit that you messed up, and you might end up getting an easier sentence, especially since they don't have to go through all the trouble of having a jury decide the case. Now, as mentioned earlier, there's a difference in this step with a misdemeanor or a felony. Now, remember, with a felony, it's the more serious of the two crimes. So in a felony case, this preliminary hearing is conducted to see if there is probable cause. Now, if there's probable cause determined, a grand jury will meet and determine if there's enough evidence to indict the accused person. Please please fill in the words felony, hearing, evidence, and indict. So in other words, we're getting another set of opinions from a jury as to whether or not there's enough evidence to bring charges against someone. And if there is enough evidence to bring up charges against someone, then that person is indicted or formally accused of committing a crime. Meanwhile, in the misdemeanor case, which is a less serious, less severe crime, meaning also less severe consequences, there is no preliminary hearing or grand jury. And then after the arraignment, a trial date is set instead. This brings us on to the fourth step. Now, the fourth step is that a court date is set and a trial is conducted. Please fill in court date and trial. Now, depending on this situation, although this is one of the faster steps we have here, this can be a lengthy endeavor. Keep in mind you do have the right to a speedy trial, so the trial will be conducted sometime soon. In the trial, you have the judge, the jury, your lawyer, the prosecution. There's evidence presented, witnesses are called, and in the end, the jury makes a decision and they reach what is called a verdict. And that is a verdict of guilty or not guilty. This brings us to our last step, and that is that a guilty verdict may be appealed to the Court of Appeals or directly to the Supreme Court in a capital case. Here, please fill in guilty and appealed. So to appeal a ruling is to challenge it at the next highest level. Now, you can't do this whenever you want. There has to be some indication that your rights were violated or some aspect of due process not being followed. If this is the case, then whether you're in the U.S. court system or the state court system, you have the ability to appeal. If you're in the federal court system, then this criminal case with the jury took place in the district court, and you can appeal up to the appeals or appellate court. If you're in the Virginia court system and you've just had a jury trial, then you would be in the circuit, and you can appeal also up to the appellate court. If you're in the district court in the Virginia court system, then you would appeal up to the circuit court. So, why is all of this important? Why do we have so many steps? Why do we have all these procedures? Well, the important thing to understand about this is that the criminal trial of a person accused of a crime must follow specific procedures in order to help guarantee a fair trial. We're looking at due process here, things that are guaranteed in the Fifth Amendment and 14th Amendment and are spelled out in the Bill of Rights and a number of court cases. So all these steps should be followed in order to make sure that someone accused has the right to defend themselves before the court. Thanks for listening.